This podcast is a proud member of the UUOP network.
This is episode 634 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast for October 22nd, 2024. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. It is me, Lee. I am here with Chris.
What's up?
And Michelle. Michelle, would you like to tell everyone where you currently are?
Yes, I am currently in Toon Lagoon at Islands of Adventure.
Which is going to play very much into this episode. I mean, you've seen the title, everyone. I don't know why I try to bury the lead on some of this stuff, because the title will be exactly what we're doing. So it's absolutely pointless.
I feel like she has an unfair advantage, though.
Is that an advantage? Maybe not. Tracy's not here. She's not very well. As you know from last week, because she wasn't there either, but she has put her rankings in, so we're all taking part. But before we get into it, Chris, would you like to plug the PC, please?
Absolutely. So, PC, Producers Club, come join it. It's amazing. We got tons of stuff. We have the Facebook group. We have weekly behind-the-scenes episodes. We do birthday shout-outs. There's full bonus episodes, and way, way more. To join that, just go to uop.supercast.com. And all the instructions will be there for you.
So as we've alluded to, and as I said, you've already seen the title, we are doing another Ultimate Universal Orlando Ride Ranking episode. And as Michelle was in the parks, we were like, why don't we do this one with her live from Toon Lagoon? And
yes.
Guys, I am prepared. So we are ranking out of 10 each ride in Toon Lagoon by its facade, its story, it's worth the average wait time, the queue, and the overall ride experience. So there is nothing to argue about or spend 10 minutes trying to discover, oh, hang on, is it 5 or 10 we're ranking these out of? Which, to be fair, was an awesome outtake.
Good job, Lee.
It was funny. I did like it. So we are starting off with Dudley Do Right's Ripsaw Falls with the facade. And Chris, we will begin with you, sir.
All right. So let's describe it to the audience real quick. It is the facade looks like a stick of dynamite that has been open like a curtain. There's a sign that says Dudley Do Right's Ripsaw Falls. There's two little outpost tower type structures. And then you can kind of
There's a saw. There's like a saw blade going on, like in between Ripsaw.
There is a saw going through there. Yep. And you can see some of the ride. From this angle, I think if you look to the right, and Michelle, you're there, obviously. Yeah. So can you see? You can see some of like where the flumes go through, right?
I can see all of it. Yeah, I can see the actual like drop part, like the big drop part.
Okay,
so. Here's a question: is that drop part, because that's also a very big, fun place to be? Is that considered facade?
Right. So when we did Hogwarts Forbidden Journey. We said everything you can see from the entrance, so where that entrance
and you can't
arch is, and you can see all of Hogwarts, we classed that as the facade.
Yeah.
You're correct. This sucks though, because one of the cooler rides to stare at and watch is going to have a feature that we don't rank at all.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of 10, It's more involved than some other areas, I'd say that much. It doesn't, do a whole bunch for me, but it's not bad. I'll give it we're doing this out of 5, right?
10? Are you kidding me?
I will give it a 6.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chris, do you want to read Tracy's out?
Sure. Okay. So Tracy goes, I like the sign split by the saw and the giant vertical logs that I thought were theatrical curtains for years. It's bold and fun. You gave it also a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My podcast sister right there.
I'm going to say it's one of the better facades when you take into... The entrance is pretty cool with the sticks of dynamite spread open and the saw. I mean, it's a pretty decent introduction to what the ride is. The fact that you can see the vast majority of the ride's pretty cool as well. I want to give it a 7.
Yeah, that's a good score.
Oh, that was a good drop. Somebody got real wet that time.
Not you, Michelle.
It was not me.
The brain was just steaming for some.
I know.
By the way, I
Michelle.
will say, Michelle, before you give your score on this one, this is a really weird one because I've been to the park since it's opened. I've ridden this ride over the course of many, many years. And until right now that I had to pull up a picture and talk about it, none of that was in my brain when I thought facade. I just thought it was an open area with 2 pillars. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I'm going to have to eat my words because I remember a past episode where I was talking about how this ride is not themed at all.
Yep, I know.
But that, I hadn't been on it in over a decade. So over the summer, my girls and I rode it, and for the first time in a long time, and we had a blast. It became one of Chris's favorite rides.
Okay.
And so I'm standing here right now in front of the entrance, and it's definitely very overwhelmingly themed here in the facade. Is it pretty? I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
Are the colors awful? God, yes. Could it use a retheme? Hell yes. But as it is right now, it is very highly themed. I can stand right here, see the entrance. I see the top of the flume.
Michelle, can you see the what's the, I can't even think what the actual name for it is. The 4 presidents carved in the thing. What, Mount Rushmore? Can you see the Mount Rushmore from where you are? Okay.
Yep, they're right there. There goes the screaming and the splashing. Yay, fun. And I just realized I'm also in my bathing suit right now because I thought I was going to go to the pool and then I remembered I had to record a podcast. So I might actually go ride this before I head back to the hotel.
Also, remember, uuop.supercast.com to see Michelle pictures in bathing suits.
Yeah, it's a 2-piece bikini as well, just so you know, with a thong.
Oh, good God.
She's only wearing one of the pieces, so let's go.
You're going to scare everybody away now. All right, so I'm going to actually give this a 7, which is very, very hypocritical of me after my diatribe in previous episode about it having no facade whatsoever. But I do have to correct you guys. So the entrance itself, those are actually not dynamite that are split apart.
They look it.
It's not. It's a wooden wall with where each post is like an individual round post of wood. The top of the posts are kind of hand carved to look sharp, like a barricade wall.
Oh, you are right. Yeah, you are right.
Hanging from that is some dynamite with a clock where it looks like it's going to explode the wall open.
You're right. I see it. They almost look like pencils.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought about dynamite at first until I saw the dynamite hanging, which told me, okay, they're trying to break the wall open with the dynamite.
Yeah, they do look like. You're right. It is a poor choice of colors because it does look like dynamite. And now you look at it, Chris, I can see what you were saying, that it looks like it does look like pencils. But you're right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Still very cool though. Yeah. So I give it a 7 on the facade. It's very overwhelmingly ugly, themed out right here.
Yeah, it's exactly what it should be, quite honestly, for like a Toon themed area.
Yeah. I'm regretting my 6 already just because I think this is actually a really cool facade, but I'll keep it there.
Okay. It's massive. Yeah.
Right, we are moving on to the story. Chris, would you like to read what Tracy has out for hers first?
Absolutely. So Tracy goes, classic episode shenanigans. Whiplash has kidnapped Nell. Dudley has to rescue her with the help of Horse. She gave it a 6.
I mean, what more can you say, to be fair?
Yeah, I mean, it's that. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So it's me. She said everything. It is a classic episode of Dudley Do Right, where Nell's being kidnapped by Slidely Whiplash, and Dudley and Horse are going to rescue her. I mean, the story is what the story is. So I'd kind of give it, again, a 7, I think. What more would it be? Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 5, and that's only because I don't know Dudley Do Right. I've never seen the actual cartoons. I don't know his shenanigans. And I believe that most people coming to this ride right now
That's
also
true.
have never seen this.
Yeah.
And I think the story would go over their head as it did mine.
Probably. Yeah,
Because I had no idea what the story was, to be honest.
I'm going to wait and see what Michelle gives all the Horror Nights houses out this year, because rarely you don't know any of the stories for them either, so...
Yes, I do. I do RIP tours. Thank you, sir.
That's the only reason you know. So going off the back of what you've just said is the average person going's not going to have a clue.
That's true. Yeah,
Story.
so 5 for story for me.
Okay.
I honestly, so you gave it a 7, Lee, just because it lines up with what it is.
Yeah.
But like, I see it as, I agree with you, and I agree with Tracy that it is the story. I saw a bunch of Dudley Do Right stuff and Rocky Bullwinkle, all that stuff growing up. So it's just generic idiot mountaineer that gets into like weird situations all the time. And it does that, but just because it doesn't make it a good story.
No, that's
I
true.
think
That's true.
I think I'm gonna go with Michelle. Like, I'll give it a 5 because it's not a bad story. It's nothing mind blowing. They didn't do the typical Universal thing and like do like a whole. I guess maybe they made their own episode with this thing, but it like very few people know what that is or what is going on in there. Like you guys said, so yeah, it just looks like a generic whatever burger to people. So I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, I suppose the argument is, I'm regretting a 7 now, of like, why are we there? They normally work out a reason for us as guests to be following the story, which they haven't in this, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're giving it a 5, Chris, yeah?
Yeah.
23. Okie dokie, we are moving on next to the, is it worth the average wait time? And according to waittimes.com, whatever it is, I can't even remember which one I used at this point. It was 29 minutes anyway. This is a weird one because I think Chris, you always kind of point these out for the water ones. I think 29 minutes in the summer for this, well worth the wait.
Yeah.
29 minutes in the winter? No. I have waited, put it this way, I have waited way longer than 30 minutes for this thing in September.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. An hour.
What is the queue, the regular queue like, as far as if you're doing it in the summer, are you hot while you're standing in the queue?
We'll get there. Whoa.
Okay.
We'll get onto the queue in the next bit. Don't spoil us. We haven't got onto the queue yet. We probably should
bleep it
first.
Yeah, but to me that matters whether or not it's worth the wait.
No, because the queue is irrelevant. It's the ride. How much is the ride worth a 30-minute wait? Irrelevant of where you stood. And to me, it's not something I ride a lot. Mainly because of Tracy, to be fair. And because of getting wet, because I'm old and I don't like it as much as I used to. I'm surprised she's put it down as high as she has.
Yeah.
I think I'll give it a 6. Because half an hour for that is a long wait.
Okay.
Yes, I am going. So based on what you just said, where I'm not considering anything else, I'm going to give it a 5 if it's a 29-minute wait.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of water rides. I did have fun, but I would only have fun on it in the summer. And even then, I don't think I would want to wait 29 minutes at all.
Yeah.
So,
can you see the wait right now or no?
40 minutes.
Wow. It's that thing, isn't it? I think you're potentially going at it. I'm surprised Tracy's got it as high as she has, because she would, I think if she was here talking about it, she would say it's worth 30 minutes if she was prepared to get wet. So like basically she had to change her clothes and a towel and stuff in with her afterwards. Otherwise, no, it's not.
Yeah, there'd definitely be a story behind her score right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Michelle on this one again. I'm going to give it a 5. I have to average it out between the entire year. 30 minutes during the summer on a hot day that I am prepared to do water rides, sure. Anything outside of that, no. Just because the ride, it's okay. It's not the craziest, most thrilling thing out there. It just gets you wet when you need to be wet.
That's what she said.
Exactly.
So we've alluded to it already. Tracy had it down as a 7, which I am genuinely surprised at.
Wow.
She said 29 minutes isn't that long, so you can take a water break while queuing. It's a lengthy ride, so I think it's working. And it is a long ride, to be fair. It's been a long time since I've ridden it, but I seem to remember it being one of the more lengthy rides on property.
It is. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good long ride. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the queue. Christopher.
The queue. What can I say
Hang on,
about
can I
this?
just jump in? So Michelle was asking, when you queue in the regular queue, what's it normally like? You've been on it more recently than Chris and I have.
I had Express.
Oh, of course you did.
Yeah.
So the only time I've been in the regular queue is the very first time I brought my family to Universal, like 12 years ago.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
when she gets to the part with the stairs, it's an escalator, remember?
Yeah, exactly. And then I didn't ride it again until this summer. So
the queue is pretty forgettable. It's kind of, from what I remember, it's dark, it's hot as hell. It's just, there's not a whole lot going on in there, and it's terrible to wait in. So the queue, I'm gonna give it. I'll give it a 2, because there has to be something worse than that.
Okay. Chris would like to trace it out.
So Tracy says, if memory serves, it has some boring parts, especially outside, and there's not really any shade until the inside portion. I don't recall anything mind-blowing. Look at that. On the same page. She gave it a 3.
Right, so let's go way, way back. This is another one of those rides that from when you enter the actual entrance to this ride, it is a trek before you get to the actual ride itself.
okay.
I don't know whether they thought this was going to be way more popular than it was, but the queue is massive, and 90% of it is outside.
Ooh.
And I think, if I remember rightly, for the last little section before you go into the inside portion, you're underneath the flume itself, and it's dripping like rank water on you.
Yes, I forgot about the the dirty water.
Like I say, I've queued an hour for this thing before. And
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's not a pleasant queue to be in. Then once you get inside, there's some funny posters. I think, if I remember rightly, there's some like parody posters of movies. I think there's like Silence of the Hams, I think, and there's a Paws one. It's like a Dog Jaws thing. And then there's 2 animatronic. There's like a beaver and a moose or something as part of it. Chris, anybody?
Yes, yeah, there's a
kind of telling jokes.
Aren't they on the wall?
Yes, telling jokes to each other, but it's kind of like it's 1999 technology. It's certainly not up to today. But the walls
that is when the ride opened.
Yeah, exactly. But they haven't done anything to it since. Anything. No. It's typical that this thing, I was hoping to ride all the water rides when we come over this year, and Dudley Do Right will actually be down for the entirety of our trip, which I'm quite disappointed at. The walls are just painted brown. There's no theming inside whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go with you, Chris. I think I've got to give it a 2. It is pretty poor.
Yeah. And to your point, because you mentioned that they probably thought, hey, it's going to be a long queue. Maybe they were just going based off of the fact that it's like a log flume type of ride. They think of Splash Mountain. They think of all, those long lines, and maybe go, hey, it's going to happen like that over here. And
because Splash Mountain's the same. That queue's huge. From start to ride is massive. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've ridden that, Michelle. That's on the list for when we're over.
Oh, yeah. I haven't ridden the new one either.
Oh, awesome.
When is that?
It's in Burr.
Michelle, the queue.
I'm actually going to give the queue a 1, and that is because that is the only memory like that. The queue was really the reason I think that I had that picture in my head of Dudley Do Right's having no theming.
Right.
Because I really swore up and down that there was none. And that's, again, the only time I've been in that regular queue. But on top of that, I really don't like walking in like standing water like that. So I have a hard time at theme parks. I will do them because if my kids like really, really want me to. But it grosses me out standing in like standing water on water ride queues and in water parks. It just stinks. It's like has like a different. It's not like rainwater that's standing.
Remember, it's also 100 degrees in Florida. So it's turning all that standing water into humidity that you're breathing in.
And it stinks. And it's like mixed with like sweat, like sweaty person smell and like chlorine. And then with little kids around, you never know what is in that water.
Yeah, exactly. They've paid the sales. The kid's like, I need the bathroom. Yes. Just go. It's fine. No one will know.
Just go. Nobody can tell. Exactly. It grosses me out.
Yeah.
So aside from it not having any theming, it just grosses me out. So no, thank you.
Lee, do you have the scores on a spreadsheet in front of you right now?
Of what altogether?
Everything we've done so far.
Yes.
Well, I know you're going to say the overall score right now, but have we hit any other ride with an overall of a single digit?
Oh, I haven't got them for like each section, just the overall score.
Okay.
But this is going to be very low down the list looking at them. Anyway, so moving on, we are the final thing we're ranking on is overall ride experience. Chris, would you like to read Tracy's, please?
Sure would. So Tracy says, we tend not to ride often, but when we do, it's always fun and wet. That's what she said. And she gave it a 7.
See, it's difficult, like she said. I think this is why I'm so disappointed it's down for our trip this year, because we haven't ridden this since 2013. And it's not because we don't like it. It's because I think we kind of said it at the beginning. To do water rides nowadays is a whole rigmarole for us, because I used to I don't give it. I would quite happily be that person trudging around the theme park, absolutely dripping with people laughing at them, because you know me, I like to play the idiot. Tracy's always been the opposite, and I think she's got slightly worse with it. So it has to be, like I said, change of clothes, and you ride the water rides. She'll get changed, dried, and what have you, and then she's done for the day. So it's not, you can't just like jump on it. So it's not that we don't like it. It's just.
It's a lot of preparation.
It is. It's a hassle to go and ride this and the next one we're going to talk about, to be fair. Yeah. But I do like it. It is fun from what I remember. I love the water curtain that I kind of wish was random. Chris, I don't know whether you remember. When you go up, there's like the first big incline round the side. I don't know whether they still do it now. There used to be a water curtain over the flume, and there was a Mountie. The first few times we did, there used to be a guy dressed in a Mountie costume there saluting you to go up. And then just as you went under that water curtain, it would separate and like stop so you didn't get wet.
I don't remember that.
And I kind of wish it was random and sometimes it didn't, and you actually got soaked, because that would be funny.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
The animatronics, like we know from talking to people throughout doing this show, that it's not as themed as it should be. Going off your point, Michelle, apparently when this was getting built, they kind of ran out of money or they ran out of time, and they just left it and were like, oh, we'll come back and add some things in later, and they just never did. So it's not what it's supposed to be. So there are dead sections of it for definite.
Yes.
But if you get a log with people in it who are just up for a laugh, it's an absolute blast. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 as well. I agree with Tracy. It is a lot of fun when you're prepared for it. Michelle?
All right. I think I shall give it a 6. So when we did ride it, we did have a lot of fun, lots of laughing. But I mean, if I'm going to consider something overall, I can't just think, did I have fun? Like, was it aesthetically pleasing? No, not at all. You know, the fun part was the end.
That's what she said.
The ride vehicle itself is terribly uncomfortable.
It is
and awkward to get in and out of. And it's not a ride that I can ride every single trip I go on. So all of that considered, like overall, it's, even though it's fun and when I do ride it, I have a good time, I'm still going to have to just give it a 6.
Okay. This is the problem, because it sways your decision listening to other people talk about them.
Yeah. No, but I agree with some of the things that were said, where it's hard to be sad or unhappy on a water ride, I think.
Right. Yes.
So it has a different kind of vibe that you go on as opposed to any other type of regular ride.
Right.
But I agree with you. The ride vehicles on this, I would give it a 0.
Yeah, they are bad.
So they're awful.
It's not just that style vehicle; it's that one in particular.
Yes.
But
because even
it is fun to do that last drop.
Even as an able-bodied person, getting in and out is awkward as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as an able-bodied, and it's not even a thing where it's like, well, maybe you're on the upper limits of what can ride. No. I perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's my legs don't bend the other way. So that's the problem.
Yes. Especially if you're in the front. They won't put you in the front seat, I'm sure, Chris.
I don't think I've ever been in the front seat.
Yeah, that's because I don't think you can physically.
Yeah, there we go. Just zip tie me to the thing. So overall ride experience, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with a 7 as well. It's stuck in between 6 and 7, but like the payoff at the end is kind of nice, I guess. 7.
So that gives Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls a total score of 107 points.
Wow.
Would you like to know where it ranks it?
Yes.
So that would put Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls currently 4th bottom.
Wow.
Above Flight of the Hippogriff and below Jurassic Park River Adventure.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah,
I would do that, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, right. We will take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, who paid for Michelle's trip. And we'll be right back.
I wish to go to Universal.
Right, off you go. We'll meet at the edge of the Forbidden Forest.
Where can our vacation wizards take you? Just tap the port key at portkeyvacations.com and let the magic begin.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here ranking the rides in Toon Lagoon. We have done Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls. It got a total of 107 points, and we are moving on to the other water ride in Toon Lagoon, and that is Popeye and Blueto's Bildrap Barges. And for those... For those in the Producers Club who will know, you won't know because you won't know until tomorrow when that comes out. We're not going to get Michelle to go and live stream the facade for this because it turned into a show the last time we tried it.
It sure did.
So we're just going to try and find the facade for it online. Michelle, are you anywhere near it at this point?
I'm walking there right now.
Because I actually don't know.
I mean, I can take pictures and send it to you.
I mean, that would work.
So we're talking right where we enter, right?
Yes.
All right, hold on. Let me take a picture.
It's definitely a lot going on.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the people listening what it looks like?
Michelle, you do it. You're the one that can see it better than I can.
Yes. Okay. So I'm standing on the bridge that you walk across to enter the whole area, the Popeye area. I can see in front of me the sign for Bildrap Barges. It's very busy. Bildrap Barges is inside like a paddle boat. There is Sweet Pea on top of the warning sign, like fishing, and she's holding her fishing pole is holding the little wait time sign. So that's pretty cute.
Here's a question then. Is Sweet Pea a girl? I always assumed it was a boy.
Oh, he, whoever, whatever, they.
I don't
Let's
know.
Be modern.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of sea creatures like all around on different signs. It just looks very like an old shack behind and lots of nautical things.
Okay.
And yes, there's an umbrella.
Of course there is. Right. This is a tough one because how much can you see any of the ride from where you are, Michelle? I
can see the loading dock, like the loading area.
Right, so I'm looking at pictures Michelle's just sent to us. I love the sign, by the way. The sign's awesome. That it's like an upturned boat, basically, with the Bildrap, and I do like that. I mean, the theme in of itself isn't the ride like all about. I love how we can see Velocicoaster, the top hat behind it as well. Because it is like a logging camp. The story behind it's a lot to do with that, isn't it? Through the ride and stuff. So it's well themed into that. I mean, I quite like it. I think it's as good as Dudley Do-Right, to be fair, as facades go. It's pretty decent. I think it's...
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's not as magnanimous as Dudley Do Right's, but it is just as busy.
I'm going to give
that makes sense.
a 7. Michelle.
I think I will give it a 6 because it is very themed here, that's for sure. But it is a little too busy for me. Like I don't really know what to look at. It's kind of confusing with all of the different signs that have arrows and stuff. I don't know. It's a little too much for my ADHD brain. So
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with a 6.
Chris.
I'm going to go with an 8.
Oh.
Yeah,
What? Wow.
for similar reasons that you guys mentioned, but didn't like. I love how much is going on in this facade, and my ADHD brain actually goes, "Oh, okay, now we can observe everything." So it's the
That's
opposite
funny
for me. And I grew up watching Popeye as well.
Yes,
and it's nice to kind of. It really does transport you into that world, and it really does feel like you're walking into a cartoon. And like I said, it's just there's a lot going on, and I think
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot, and some people may not like that. I totally get that.
Well, and
But
I didn't
for
take
me-
my medication today, so that may
There you go.
be a consideration.
Try it again tomorrow. But I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's really well done. Is it 2 giant dragon statues flaming each other? No, but it's still really cool and has a lot going on.
Okay. Tracy says, a bit nondescript. This is weird because, like, obviously the 3 of you all have ADHD, which is interesting. And Michelle give it a 6, Chris give it an 8, Tracy give it, she said, a bit nondescript, aside on rowing boat and Popeye's head is all I remember, and she gave it a 3.
Nondescript? She must not have looked up a picture.
Well, she probably will. Well, she's not very well. Anyway, she give it a 3. So 13, 21, 24. Okay, moving on to the story. Michelle. And if you don't know what the story is...
I don't know the story.
So the story is pretty much the same as Dudley Do Right's Ripsaw Falls. We're out on the lake. Bluto knocks our boat off course so he can go and kidnap Olive Oil. And Popeye's going to rescue her.
Okay. I think I'll stick with a 5 again because I had to ask what the story was. But I don't know if that's Universal's fault or my fault because I just haven't paid attention to like the signs walking through the queue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For some reason, whatever the story is or how they're telling it did not capture my attention.
Okay.
And that could be of my own fault. I don't know.
Chris, I know this is one that you ride probably the most as far as water rides go in Islands of Adventure.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So and I'll get to that later. But for story, like you mentioned, it's a very traditional Popeye story, right? It's just, he's always trying to mess with him, and this time he got Sweet Pea and all that, and they go on a little mission. But it's an okay story. I follow it pretty well because, like I said, I ride this a lot.
Yeah.
But it's still not mind blowing, so I'll give it a 6.
Okay. Would you like to read Tracy's out, Chris?
Sure. Tracy goes, another classic episode ride. Popeye has to rescue Olive Oil from Bluto's clutches and a giant octopus. But you don't get to follow it because you're too busy getting soaked.
I mean, she's not wrong there, like. Yeah, it's difficult because I feel like I've said it. I feel like it's exactly the same as Dudley Do Right. It's, again, pretty much everything you would expect from a Popeye and Bluto ride. So I would be wrong in not giving it a 7 the same.
Okay.
Moving on, and the next one we hit is it worth the average wait time? And Chris is going to freak out over this.
This can't be right, man. This cannot be right.
Don't forget, though, this is the average wait time, Chris. So in the summer, it's high, but once you get into November, December, January, February, it's not going to be anywhere near. So according to the website, again, I can't remember which one it is, the average wait time for Popeye and Bluto's Build Wrap barges is 15 minutes.
That's exactly what it is right now.
There you go.
I'm on my way.
And what is it? Yeah, and don't forget as well then, Chris, that Michelle said Dudley Do Right was 40 minutes. So on the same day that Dudley's 40, Popeye's 15.
Which is a weird one, because this is a much better ride, in my opinion.
I agree.
This one's a much faster load, like it's continuous, and it has a higher capacity.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're right.
fair enough. Okay. Good. Thank you, Michelle. Chris?
At 15 minutes, this is a weird one, right? So you said out of 11, right?
No.
At 15 minutes, I'm giving it a 10. Like I want to give it a 9 just because I wouldn't, if it was 15 minutes and I'm not ready to ride water rides, I'm not going to ride it, right? But under the guise of, is it worth 15-minute wait? Absolutely. 10 out of 10.
I feel like I should go ride it right now.
Do it.
Well, and live stream the recording while you're on it. Yeah. Chris, you want to read Tracy's?
Yep. Another lengthy ride.
God.
That's what she said. Always fun. And
Exactly.
I messed that one up. So she goes, another lengthy ride, always fun, and gets me wetter than Dudley.
Is that really what she wrote?
That's
Is that
literally
really?
what she wrote. That is literally what she wrote.
I haven't
Oh my
doctored
God.
it. She knew what she was doing when she wrote that one.
Oh, hell yeah, she did.
15 minutes for Popeye if I'm prepared to get wet.
Hold on, wait. Did I say she gave it a 7 or no?
I can't remember, but there.
Well, she gave it a 7.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, let's go off the fact that I don't always like getting wet. And if I'm ready to ride it and it's 15 minutes, hell yeah, it's worth the wait every time. I'm going to knock it a point off just purely because it's a water ride and it's not something I can just jump on any time. But yeah, 15 minutes is a no-brainer. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Michelle.
This is difficult because I'm not a huge water park or water ride person. Is it worth 15 minutes? If you want to get wet, yeah, it is. So I'll give it a 7. When I rode it in the summer, there were a lot of animatronics and parts that weren't working. I don't know if they've been fixed since then or not, but there were some obvious places that something should have been spraying me or dumping water on me and they weren't. Yeah, so I think I'll give it a 7.
Okay. Moving on, we will hit the queue. Chris, would you like to read Tracy's, please?
Yep. So Tracy goes, I think this is another one that isn't memorable. I can't recall anything but wooden walkways. And she gave it a 3.
Okay. So I remember watching a theme park stop video about a year or 2 ago where Alicia did a deep dive into the queue for Popeye, and there is way more in this queue than you realise. But again, it does suffer from the same thing that Dudley Do-Rights does. From that entrance facade to the load area is a trek. And it is a lot of wooden walkways, and it's quite slippy from what I remember, because I think there's spray, leaky pipes and that type of thing, so it's a bit treacherous, which is interesting. I don't think it's the best queue, but it's not Dudley Do-Right level bad, so I think I'll give it a 5. It's not amazing, but I think there's enough in there if you look around to get something out of it.
If they would let me have my phone out while I'm on the ride, I would totally record the rest while I'm on it.
I don't think it would do your phone any good.
Just try to talk as normal as if nothing's happening.
Yeah. I don't think your phone would come out the other end, to be fair.
I think it'd be fine. So what are we talking about right now?
Queue.
The queue. The queue, it's kind of a little bit of in between of what Tracy said and what you said. It is a lot of just wooden walkways, but once you get kind of closer into the ride itself, there are little interactive things that you can touch and do, and but it's still a water ride, with standing water and stinky smells. So I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 3.
A 3? Wow.
Yeah.
Chris is going to give it a 10 because he loves it.
No, actually,
11.
Well, I do love it, but
I know.
now I'm gonna go with a 5, and the reason why I'm going with a 5 is there are some cool aspects of the queue, even from the beginning. There's a lot of cartoony things going on, but the other reason why I gave it a 5 is because there's also at certain parts of that attraction or queue, there's a ton of switchbacks. There's that no end in sight mindset that occurs at some points where you like don't know when it's going to get to the ride, and it's mostly outside, so it's hot. Even though you're going to ride a water ride, it still sucks to be in the heat. So I'll give it a 5.
Okay, interesting. And wrapping up, we are doing overall ride experience. So for me, I'm not going to spoil Tracy's because she's kind of said the same thing as I'm going to. And like I said on Dudley Do, right? If you get the right group of people in one of these barges, it's not a barge really, it's bilge wrap barges, but it's a raft, right? You can have an absolute blast. It is, quite honestly, as a group experience, probably one of the most fun rides on property.
Mm-hmm.
I would challenge anyone to say there's other than maybe Men in Black, as a group experience, I don't think there's a better ride on property.
Don't forget Cat in the Hat, my friend.
True. There's something got to make that better. So I am going to give it an 8, I think, overall.
Wow.
Michelle.
Overall, I don't know, because it is fairly fresh in my memory, and I do remember there being a lot of like refurb things that need to happen. I'm going to give it a 6 because it is fun. Like if you want to get soaked and cool off, I mean, it is fun, but it needs some refreshing.
From on-ride videos I've watched, there's some fantastic views of Velocicoaster from it now as well.
Yeah, there are.
Chris.
It's all right. I'll give it like a 1, I guess.
Shut up.
Now I'm gonna go full 10 on this one again. Wow. This is partly because the ride is amazing. I think it is, from what I've ridden a handful of these. Are they called barge style vehicles or the circular ones?
Raft ride, yeah.
Those kind of raft vehicles. I've ridden a few. This is by far my favorite. I think some places will have no story at all. It's just a raft ride, which is okay, but I think this one does a really good job at doing that. And I also have so many memories on here. When I go with my family, I always ride this, and it's one of the few rides that my dad can ride because he gets motion sickness on anything. So it's also one of the few rides that I know, like, my dad will always ride with me. I've ridden with him, and even he's like a crazy character on his own. So we'll go in there. It'll be a bunch of strangers, and he just starts talking to all of them. And every time we ride, he like acts like it's the first time. And he's screaming like, "Oh my God, look behind you! Be careful!"
That's cute.
It's a show in itself to watch. So I'm giving it a 10 because, again, it's a really fun ride, and I have just tons of memories on it.
Yeah, I think if you compare it to something like, Chris, I don't know whether you've ridden it. Michelle, have you done Kali River Rapids over at Animal Kingdom?
I think so, but it's been a long time.
And it's like when the park almost first opened, probably. It's been a long time.
Yeah, like I don't remember anything about it.
It lasts about 30 seconds. There's one drop. You barely get wet. It's not worth it at all. To put it into perspective.
This one has so many. This one, you think the ride is over. Like, it's a very long ride. You think it's over, and like, no. It's still really good park coming up.
And it's just so because of on those raft rides as well, anyone can end up going backwards through like a downpour or those drops. So it's like you might get halfway around the ride and be dry as a bone and be like, ha 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 ha, and then suddenly you get flipped round and you get everything.
Yeah.
Plus the interactive guns on my ship, the Olive, and the ones on the bridge going across from there. Oh, it's just, it's awesome. So that gives this a total ultimate ride ranking score of 127, which actually at this point puts it 6th behind High in the Sky Zeus Trolley Train Ride and above Skull Island Reign of Kong.
Okay, it's above Kong, huh?
Yes. So the current rankings of the ones we've done, number 1 is Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Number 2 is Velocicoaster. 3 is Hagrid's. 4 is Cat in the Hat. 5 is the Zeus Trolley Train. 6 is Popeye and Bluto. 7, Skull Island Reign of Kong. 8, River Adventure. 9, Dudley Do Right. 10, Flight of the Hippogriff. 11, One Fish, Two Fish. And 12, the Carousel. I'm hoping to get this all wrapped up by the end of the year. I'm going to end up probably splitting Marvel Superhero Island into 2 because we're at an hour just doing 2 rides in here, and I think Marvel could take quite a bit of time. Producers Club members, get involved. There is a Google form out there for the first lot of rides. There'll be one coming out for this and the Marvel, because I want to do a listener rankings as well. Because I want to get studios, if we can, done before Epic Universe opens. That's the plan. And then when we eventually get into Epic Universe, we'll add them in. What the average wait time will be, like, can you imagine, we'll get in there after the first 6 months, and the average wait time for every ride at Epic Universe will be like 400 minutes. Is it worth 400 minutes?
It's going to be a while before we can do the Epic Universe one.
But yeah, so that is going to wrap up this episode. Don't forget, we want you to send in your Freeze Ray Pops recordings, as well as your How Bad is Fast and Furious Supercharged jokes. And of course, Halloween Horror Nights is very nearly done. So please send us your house rankings for this year, 10 to 1, and be part of our listener rankings for this year. So you can send all of that to us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. And until next week, see you later, guys.
Are you insane? Get out of here. The curse, it's real. The podcast is over. So, the Magi want you to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. For all the podcast news and articles, check out our blog at uuopodcast.com. Contact us by emailing us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. And if you want to join the Producers Club, email us at uuopproducers@gmail.com. Silence! With your subscriptions, we shall rule for all eternity. Listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Not even the Magi can save you now. There is no escape. Your end shall be my beginning. Prepare yourself for your next trip by emailing Michelle at portkeyvacations.com. She can take care of all aspects of your next Universal Orlando vacation. We hope you enjoyed your podcast. Please remain seated and keep your arms and legs inside the prepare to forfeit your souls. Check out the other podcasts on the UUOP network. Rush of Fear, Halloween Horror Nights podcast, the Theme Park Duo for all your West Coast news and info, the Taste of Universal, Universal Orlando Food podcast, and the newest podcast on the network, the Portkey Passport, our Disney-centric podcast. So hey, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. I would have enjoyed this podcast a lot more if I had gotten my cup of coffee.